This is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today we're going to talk about a pretty important subject in raw foods. That's supplements. So, first, I guess the first question is we should define supplements. So what are supplements? There's so many different definitions. If you go into a health food store in the vitamin store, are all the bottles on the shelves, are those supplements? I mean, what defines a supplement? I mean, is a supplement a whole food that's been powdered and put into a bottle, such as wheatgrass powder or wheatgrass juice powder, or are supplements, white crystalline powder, vitamin C, ascorbic acid made in a laboratory? I take the approach that if it's made in a factory, in a laboratory, that is truly a supplement. If it's a whole food and just powdered up whole foods, I don't really consider that a supplement. I consider that a food. Yes, it happens to be, put in a bottle and stuff, but I think still I would consider that a food. I mean, herbs are a perfect example. You could go into the health food store and there's so many different herbs you could buy in pills. And herbs, I think those are foods. I think we should probably eat the herbs without the pills. But that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, so my definition of supplements something made in a laboratory that's totally not natural. Whatever your definition of supplements, today I'm going to be talking about supplements and supplements used in the raw foods movement. So everybody in the raw foods movement seem to have their own take on supplements, and today I'll be sharing my take and hopefully a more well-rounded take, in my opinion, of what I'd like to think. There's some people that shun supplements. Oh, I'm on a raw foods diet. I eat all natural. I don't need any supplements. And there's other people on the raw foods diet. They eat raw foods, but then, man, they take lots of supplements because their raw food teacher or raw food doctor says, hey, you need to take all these supplements. So what do? That's a good point. I kind of somewhere I'm in the middle. I probably err on the more of the side of let's see, not take supplements. But that being said, the thing is, if you don't take supplements, you better damn make sure you get all the nutrients you need from the food you're eating. And most people, in my opinion, on the raw foods diet aren't getting all the nutrients they're needing from their food, because if you eat 30 bananas today, 30 bananas tomorrow, romaine for dinner today, romaine for dinner tomorrow, that's romaine lettuce, you're going to miss out on a wide variety of nutrition. So it's very important, if you're eating a raw foods diet, eat a wide variety of foods, because each food has different nutrients in that food. Even broccoli and cauliflower in the same family, cruciferous family, they have different nutrients. I mean, the pigments in cauliflower is white, pigments in broccoli are green, although I've also seen purple broccoli and purple cauliflower and yellow cauliflower. But nonetheless, we want to be eating a variety. So if you eat cauliflower for dinner tonight, eat celery tomorrow, eat kale the next night, eat lettuce the following night, eat stinging nettles the following night, eat dandelions the next night, and every day eat something new. Today I had for breakfast peaches, yesterday I had papaya, the day before I had mangoes, the day before that I had mamey sapote. Every day you want to be eating something different, and if you're not, you better start. Especially the berries, we want to be eating the rainbow, eat all the different colors, eat all the different fruits, all the different vegetables. So always change it up, and always, because when you change it up, you're getting all different nutrients, all different antioxidants from all these different foods. And the other thing you want to do is eat the food as fresh as possible, because as soon as they harvest the food that you're eating, as much as 50% of some of the nutrition is lost within 24 hours. And that's not to mention, if you live on the East Coast and they're picking it from California, it's been at least, a week, 10 days until you get it. And think about all the other nutrient loss. So I encourage everybody to grow their own food in their own front yard. And if they can't do that, grow it in your apartment or condo. If you can't do that, go to your local farmers market, support your local farmers to get the freshest quality, highest quality food, because, this is not talked a lot about in raw foods, is the quality of the food, because fresher quality food has more nutrition, which is more nutrition available for us, to our body to absorb. So big disparity between, someone eating raw foods that's, store-bought stuff, and they're eating, like I said, bananas and romaine all day, then somebody eating fresh out of their garden, eating something different every day. So you can be raw and you can do both those things, but definitely one's better than the other, and I want you to do the best you can do. So let's get back to supplements. On the supplements, I'll cut to the chase. There are a few supplements, or actually one really important one that I'm highly confident that probably everybody on a raw foods diet and on a vegan raw foods diet should be taking. That's vitamin B12, and I don't know if we have any. I'm sure we have some in here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Here's the B12 Forte. Very important. Take it to be insured. I mean, number one, I also recommend people to get their blood tested. I get my blood tested through Life Extension Magazine. They have an annual blood test sale, and it's actually one of the least expensive to get your blood tested. Test your vitamin B12, but more importantly than testing your B12, you want to test your methylmalonic acid and homocysteine levels. Those are the functional indicators of B12. So even though your B12 could be high, if your functional indicators are not in line, that could mean the B12 is not working right, or there's some other issues that you want to definitely resolve. So, B12 deficiency is not necessarily a problem isolated to people in raw foods or even vegans, but it's just in nature now. The reason why we'd have maybe B12 in the olden days is because we'd be eating dirty produce, and we're all about sanitation, because especially if you're in business, you can't have dirty stuff because people are going to get sick. So we kill all the bacteria and everything. So, I'm happy to say I eat out of my dirty garden and pick roots and sometimes don't wash it. But even so, even if you do that, I have had good friends that live off the land and, they take B12. So don't mess around. Take B12. It's not fun if you get a B12 deficiency. Next most important, I've, done research and learned over the years regarding this one. And unless you live in some tropical places, and I have, lots of friends in the raw foods movement who some live in the tropics and some don't. For those that live in the tropics, I have seen friends that do get enough vitamin D from the sun. And our bodies and our skin are the best source of vitamin D if we get sun, and we could make our own vitamin D free and clear. That being said, some people are scared of the sun in our society that we live in, and that's really a shame. I like to get an adequate amount of sun, not too much, not too little. So that being said, even though I was, low in vitamin D, so I started taking a vitamin D, and here's what we have right here. This is a raw D3, so I recommend a vitamin D3 plant source of vitamin D. Let's see, shiitake mushrooms also high in vitamin D if they're sun-dried, would be a food source. So regarding supplements, it comes down to this. I always try to get my supplements that I think I need based on my blood test through food-based sources. So, I looked on B12, and there's not really a good source of B12. They may say, oh yeah, algae have B12, or yeast have B12. Well, then I learned there's something called B12 analogs. So they looked and act like B12 in the laboratory and fill the B12 receptor sites, but they're not actually B12 in the body. So that's why I, went with supplementation. Better to be safe than sorry. Although saying that, I found that chlorella may have an active source of real B12. But once again, I'm into this for my health, not for some, dogma to say I have to be all raw or I'm a failure. No, my motto is I have to be all healthy or I'm a failure. So if healthy means taking a B12 supplement, and I take a couple different kinds, I recommend the methylcobalamin kind instead of the cyanocobalamin kind. Basically is the kind I like to take. Or there's another one called PERQ, PERQUE, B12 that I also take too. So food sources of your vitamins that you're deficient in first before supplementation. So in vitamin D it would be like shiitake mushrooms are probably a good source, but I have been supplementing in vitamin D, especially in the winter months when there's not as much sun. So probably want to get tested on that. The test costs about $25 through Life Extension to get your vitamin D levels tested. And vitamin D plays a big factor in immunity. So if you're deficient in vitamin D, then your immune system's not probably going to be functioning as best as it could. Here's another one that's really interesting. Oops. Folic acid. Do we really need folic acid in our diets? Well, what is folic acid? Well, folic acid is folate, and where does folate comes from? Folate comes from leafy green vegetables. So I think if you eat enough leafy green vegetables, you shouldn't need folic acid. And we could go down the list. Here's another one. Natural vitamin C. If you eat enough fresh fruits, vitamin C is plentiful in fruits. And here's a really good example. Instead of taking a vitamin C supplement made with ascorbic acid in the laboratory, a better option would be something like this. This is the Health Force brand nutritionals of Camu Camu, and that's basically powdered fruit. So you could get, better than the bioflavonoid laboratory made is powdered fruit in a bottle. But what's better than powdered fruit in a bottle? Well, how about fresh fruit that you eat? If I had a fresh Camu Camu bush, or just fresh fruits in general. Many fresh fruits are high in vitamin C. And then, I like to eat the whole foods motto. So my motto is, try to eat things in their whole and natural state, because besides having just vitamin C, they have the bioflavonoids and the fiber and all the other things. And our body really likes to look for, all these nutrients in packages, and our body's really efficient at breaking down and getting out the nutrients in packages that nature made, like fruits and vegetables. So eat your fruits and vegetables first. This would definitely be better instead of this. The only other supplements I'd really like to talk to about today are some of the other ones that I take that I found that may be helpful. So definitely one of them are probiotics. I'm a big, huge fan of probiotics. I do eat some cultured foods, but even though eating cultured foods, you're not getting the wide range of probiotics that are in a probiotic supplement, for example. The other supplement that I like to take a lot too is enzymes. So enzymes are basically the catalysts in our body that cause all the chemical reactions and all the reactions. So they're very important. I get a lot of enzymes from the foods I eat, but I also do take some supplemental enzymes. So to sum it up, basically, I recommend taking whole food supplements, B12, possibly vitamin D, and I take whole food supplements primarily with a few other supplements. We'll see you next time. Stay healthy.